Oh man, what a day. Hmm. Oh man, Lance McAllister going in, bro. It's facts right here. They ain't even hating on Ohio State. See, Lance McAllister is not cap. I don't even care about the Ohio State part. What he's saying is right. Penn State's not even in there anymore. I don't think they are. Are they? They shouldn't be in there. No. I would take them out, and I would take them out. Which one last week? They lose. They lost. They watch those highlights. Yeah. Yep. 6. Not popping up. Dude. About.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
How's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Yeah.
Good day. Also, get it started, so I figured we'll give it like 2 minutes and we'll get
Okay.
going. Thank you, Paul. I didn't know that. I wasn't going to keep it in low screen. I looked through it already. I got it right. What? Oh, man.
Mm.
You hear me fine, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
All right. Want to make sure I got on a little bit earlier to try to fix the audios and stuff. I haven't streamed in a little bit.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
Alrighty. Well, ready whenever you are. You ready?
I'm ready.
Alrighty, let's start it. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drop the Gloves Podcast, Episode 9, Week 10 of college football. And today, I'm CJ Martini. I'm joined by Ryan. How you doing today, Ryan?
Doing pretty well. Excited to get into the the college football playoff rankings. First ones just came out.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good day to talk about college football. That's for sure. Um, you know, first first off, I want to say congratulations to Paul having his kid. I am filling in for him this week, possibly next week, not sure, but just want to say a quick congratulations to him and his family, him and Kaylee. Uh, nothing's better than having a daughter. So as we say that, let's go into it. We'll start off with a recap of week 8. It's I don't know how to say it. Would you say it was kind of a boring week 8?
Well, there were some games that were, I mean, pretty great. There was the Michigan State. The Ohio State Penn State was pretty good.
I will say a lot of closer games than I expected this week. But as we said, we'll hop into the first one of the week. Troy taking on Coastal Carolina. You know, to me, this game, I think I picked Troy to win it, but Coastal Carolina proved me wrong. And it was a good game out of them. Won by 7. Troy did cover the 17 spread. That's kind of crazy to me. It was 17. But what are your thoughts on that game?
I'm interested why you picked Troy.
Uh, I don't know. To me, I just have those schools to me are always the underdogs. Like you always think of Troy, Appalachian State. They just come out of nowhere and usually try to just mess up the rankings a little bit.
Okay, I gotcha. I don't have a ton to say about this one. I mean, Coastal has been, I mean, they've been pretty good for a couple of years, so um, I'm not surprised they could handle, Troy.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I love picking the upset teams.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
let's hop down here to we'll start with the UC Tulane game on the Saturday games. You know, I'm a big UC fan, and
Hmm.
to me, I'm not very impressed with how they played, but they did get the job done. They still won by 3 scores.
Was it three stores?
Yeah, they won by 19.
Well, it was close for a while, right?
Yeah, once they kind of took it away after the fourth quarter. It was close going into the fourth. UC they're a better second half team than they are a first half team, but that's no excuse to be close with Tulane at halftime.
So, I mean, would you say that the final score was a bit misleading?
I would say that yes, but that just it helps them winning by 19. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I mean, I could see it well, maybe it didn't because here they are outside the top four, right? Outside the top five.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get into that a
So,
little bit later. I think that's gonna be fun when we talk
well,
about.
I'm just saying, like, apparently they didn't think much of that.
Yeah, I mean anything you see, anything they do, they're not gonna really hold them to a high standard. I mean, if UC don't win by 50, they're not going to care. That's how I look at it. But I mean, I'm also on the outside looking in as a UC fan.
Yeah.
So as we go on to the next game, Iowa versus Wisconsin. I mean, what do you think of this game, Ryan?
Uh, this, I don't know what to make really of this. I'm surprised. I mean, I saw that Wisconsin, I believe, was favored, but I was like a little bit surprised by that because Iowa's been, for the most part, very good. And then Iowa just gets pounded. Like, I mean, maybe you can help me out with this one.
Yeah, I've made jokes with Paul and a lot of my buddies about Iowa, how their offense is horrible. I honestly think we could have played a better offense than what Iowa could have done, and that's not like trying to discredit what they're doing. Two losses. Two losses are hard, especially who they lost to. I mean, not very great teams. But when you can't score the ball, it's I mean, it's not good. Wisconsin has one of the best defenses in the country. They showed that playing against Iowa, whose offense was just absolutely horrendous. And
Right.
Wisconsin deserves to be in the rankings now.
Yeah. Do you have them in your rankings?
See, I did not make a rankings, and I should have. Like I look at it this way, I love basing off what happens in the first playoff rankings because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think a lot of people were kind of shocked with what happened with the bottom part of the top 25, and that's why I didn't want to make a rankings yet. But next week, if I am on, I will make a rankings.
But you think Wisconsin is top 25?
At first, I didn't, but I mean, looking at you got to look at who they lost to, and I think that plays a big favor into it, and also beating a team, the number 9 team in the country, they deserve to be there. If you're going to put Mississippi State in there, Wisconsin definitely deserves to be in there.
Yeah, I didn't put them in mind, but I mean, I'm not like opposed to them being in there. I just think their offense is pretty suspect, but their defense is very good for sure.
Oh, I agree with you on that. I mean, Wisconsin, their defense has shown all year that they could just get it done. As long as they could maybe score a little bit, they'd be there. Uh, Heading into it, this was an upset game right here. Iowa State. I could not believe West Virginia won this.
I know. I was pretty surprised by that as well.
To me, this was a game that Iowa State needed to show that they were for real and like they had a chance at
Mm,
maybe beating Oklahoma. I mean, they still might. I don't think they do personally, but to lose to a team supposed to beat by 7.5 is just not something that you need to do. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I've been pretty high on Iowa State since the preseason, and they keep like they'll have a nice win, and then I'm like, oh, they're actually for real, and then they have like a loss, and uh, and then they have a loss like this one, and it's just like kind of disheartening that they're they're not really that great. I mean, they're just kind of decent.
They're the team that you want to pick to win, but deep down
Yes.
inside that it could go either way.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah.
the typical Big Ten team, or not Big
Big
Ten, Big 12. My
Big
bad, my
12.
bad. Yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking there. We'll head over to
Yeah.
the Georgia and Florida game. I mean, not a lot to say here. Florida
Hmm.
looked absolutely horrible. Georgia runs away with it again.
Yeah, I think we thought last week that this had potential to be a little bit closer, but yeah, it was not.
No, and I mean it's kind of surprising because Florida's they're not the same team they were last year, but also you can look at it like they've been the team when they play good teams to play decently close, and especially at home, it's hard to go to Florida and play. That is not an easy place to go play, and the fact that they got beat this bad, I think that means Georgia's for real. But we'll see in the upcoming weeks once the SEC championship game starts.
Georgia's definitely for real. I just thought I mean, Florida was better than they showed because I mean they played Alabama to I believe a 2 point game.
Oh, that game was nuts, man. I remember watching it too.
Hmm.
Speaking of a nuts game, that we got two back to back. We'll start with the Penn State Ohio State game, and this showed. I think this game helps Ohio State more than anything. I really do.
How so?
I think it helps them because I watched it. I watched this entire game, and Ryan Day said that no matter how good or bad Penn State is, they're always going to be nitty and gritty. And just watching it, it showed Penn State could hang with them. But I think the biggest problem was the offensive turnovers, and if you cut a few of those down, it could be a different game. On the other hand, it
Hmm.
made C.J. Stroud actually see that he has to play better. But we also, it's kind of weird, because could this game have gone Penn State's way? Very well, possibly. But Ohio State, they showed that they had the finesse and they went out there and won the game. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, this was a good game, and it went more or less how I expected. Penn State played well. They put up a good fight. Their defense impressed me very much. I mean, it was keeping them in the game. Like they were, I mean, they came up with a number of stops. It's just their offense couldn't really uh, generate enough points. But um, I mean, I think like I mean it helps Ohio State obviously because they but I think they could have been. I think if they had been more convincing, it would have gone a long way for them. And uh, in terms of maybe the playoff rankings, but they have it all out in front of them. Ohio State does. I mean, they've got tons of opportunity to beat good teams and get up into the top four.
Oh, 100%. I think what really helped Penn State this game, and it's like you said, their defense. Their defense was absolutely. They played great, and the way they played great is it was at the line. They tried to not let Henderson get outside. That was the main goal. They did that in the first half, but once the second half started, you can't when you keep running out the same defense and you're not really subbing guys out, you're going to get tired. And I think that's what happened. And Ohio State, they took advantage of that and they looked very good. And Stroud's only going to get better. So
Yeah,
we'll head into the
yeah.
Michigan and Michigan State game. And I mean, I watched the fourth quarter of this. I didn't really watch a lot of it, but one thing that to me, why I think Michigan threw this game, I never agree with playing two quarterbacks. I mean, you could be different. I hate the fact that they kept on switching out one
Mm,
running the read option and then one just playing and throwing the ball all the time.
that's a good point.
It's not consistent to me, and I think that's why Michigan. I'm not saying that's the 100% the reason Michigan lost this game because they easily could have played better. There's no excuse to be up the amount they were to let Michigan State come back, but also, in my opinion, the Heisman front runners on Michigan State.
Yes,
It,
yes. Oh, go ahead.
no, it's all you. It's all you.
Uh, yeah, you bring up a good point. Like I didn't uh necessarily think of that, but yeah, I mean they are playing two quarterbacks when what's his name, McNamara. It's not like I mean that guy is playing outstanding, and yet they still bring in uh what is it, McCarthy? I want to say.
Yeah, yeah, it was McCarthy.
Yeah, so I don't really understand that too much, but so yeah, good point there. But like as far as all the games, like this is a pick I was very pleased with because it went exactly how I thought. Um, I thought that Walker would make the difference, being the best player on the field, and he definitely was. And another point that I've said continually on here is that Michigan, they just tend to uh, underperform once they actually have expectations. And I actually have this stat here. Harbaugh at Michigan, he is uh, 2-13 versus top 10 opponents, 54-10 versus non-top 10 opponents, versus Ohio State and Michigan State. He's 3-9, and versus the rest of the Big Ten, he is 35-8. So
Something
really,
something
what's
that's
that?
crazy to me is, I mean, we've seen it over the past couple of years. I think Michigan throws a lot of the games they play. And I'm not saying against Ohio State because usually when they play Ohio State, it's not even a game. But like I remember watching them versus Penn State or Michigan State a couple of years ago. They botched a fumble on a punt and they took it back for a touchdown to win the game or to lose the game. So like they're just losing games. I think that once it comes down to crunch time, they're just not executing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, they don't win the big games, and um, I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean it's tough when you don't win big games. You don't deserve to be where you are. They only dropped two though from, or actually they only dropped one spot. Michigan State moved up. Uh, this next game, I think to me it went exactly how I thought. I thought Pitt was overrated. Miami came in and beat them at home, and they covered the 9.5 point spread, beating them by four. I wasn't a big believer on Pitt and or the ACC in general, and I think Miami showed that for us this week.
Yeah, definitely true. I mean, I wasn't a believer exactly in them, but I mean, I did think they would win that game. But yeah,
Their offense just it came on late. I mean, it's hard like when you play against teams like that who have nothing. I mean, they're playing for a bowl game, but other than that, their season's practically over. A lot of people want to get to the college football playoffs, and at that point, it just wasn't going to happen. When you're playing a team who has nothing to lose, it's very hard to go out there and win.
yeah,
Uh,
good point.
Next game we got Texas versus Baylor. I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on this because I didn't really watch this game.
I didn't see it either, but this was one of the upsets that I picked. I picked Texas, um, and yeah, I was wrong. But I mean, I picked them just because I mean, I think I believe in their talent, but they just can't seem to uh, just put it together into wins. And Baylor, I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, they're definitely one of the best teams in the Big 12, and um,
Would you say that? Would you say Texas is kind of like Michigan when it comes to a big
like
game? They just can't close it out
in general, yeah, I could see that.
because this is
Yeah,
like the third time this year that it's happened. I mean, you have to think the Oklahoma game. You're up 28-7. Oklahoma makes a quarterback change. They come in, they win it.
yeah, it's kind of like uh, Texas is sort of like Michigan, Oklahoma, and sort of like Ohio State, the dominant teams. But yeah, I see where you're coming from there.
I'd say Texas is the Michigan of the Big 12. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, like they're kind of historic and everything, like but they don't actually get the job done all that often.
100%.
Yeah,
Speaking of Oklahoma, I think we finally seen what they're capable of. I mean, Oklahoma wins 52-21 versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech is not that great of a team. They do got 5 wins. They still have a above 500 record, but Oklahoma finally looked impressive for once. And I think if they want to keep moving up, they're going to have to keep doing this to teams. And the bulk of their schedule is coming up. They still have Iowa State to play. They still have Oklahoma State to play, and they still have Baylor. So those three games right there could easily move them up. and I think this is only looking good for Oklahoma after winning this game.
Well, yeah, I agree. And we're gonna get into their their ranking and everything, but yeah, I mean, they desperately need to start winning more convincingly, and I guess they're hopefully on track. Um, I think Caleb Williams is awesome, uh, just really awesome quarterback, and so we will see. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see them, as you say, in these bigger uh, conference games down the stretch.
It would be very. It'll be. I think it'll be a good next couple weeks, especially for college football just in general. But let's talk about your team here a little bit. Colorado, they traveled to Oregon. Oregon beats them 52-29. I did not get the chance to watch this game, but Colorado did cover the spread, but they still won.
Yeah, so we were winning. I mean, we were destroying them, and then we pulled our starters, and I can't quite remember. I think it was like 45 to 14. It may have been 21 when we pulled the starters, but basically, then they sort of they never really got back in the game, but they scored a couple times and stopped us a couple times. Uh, we actually had to put Anthony Brown back in. So it was a little bit frustrating from the standpoint of like, okay, we know the rankings are coming out, the first uh, playoff rankings. We need to be as convincing as we can. So maybe don't, pull the starters prematurely like that. Um, but with that being said, we seem to have turned a corner. I mean, we after scraping by Arizona and Cal and people like that, uh, the last 2 weeks have been pretty good, um, fairly convincing. So I'm really hoping that we've sort of turned a corner here.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the way I look at it is uh, they scored a lot of garbage time points, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I
And
mean there was a lot of garbage time.
so, with that being said, I mean, those are like the points you hate because Oklahoma gave those up too. Once you're up so much, you just, all right, let's pull the starters, let's put the backups in. And I mean, it is what it is, but this next game, there was no pulling the starters. Wake Forest versus Duke. I To me, I think Wake Forest is one of the most overrated teams in the top 10. Well, in the yeah, actually they are in the top 10. I think they're overrated. I think they just want to see an ACC team up there. And what's crazy to me is I like Sam Hartman. I think he could be a Heisman frontrunner, but they haven't played nobody. So when you don't play nobody and you're putting up numbers against guys who aren't that good of teams, it's different than say CJ Stroud going out there and throwing for 400 yards against some Big Ten team who isn't that good, but would probably beat somebody in the ACC.
Yeah, yeah, I hear where you're coming from with that. I think I have Wake Forest at 10, uh, but that's not really because I'm a huge believer in Wake Forest. It's more just like who can you really put ahead of them? Um, I mean, after the top 10, it gets pretty fuzzy. Uh, I mean, yeah, you could make very good argument that Penn State probably beats them. Um, I think they'd be a favorite if they played. I
I
think most people would pick them.
I
Do you
think
agree with that?
yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying there. I think a lot of the teams in the top 10 would end up beating Wake Forest. I don't really. I'm just not a believer in them.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, they are undefeated, and I just feel the need to give them their credit, you know?
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with you there. You have to give credit where credit's due, and we'll see in the next couple weeks. Even though Clemson's not the same team they were last year, they still have won 26 straight home games, and they go to play Clemson on the road, so that's going to be pretty tough.
Yes.
So we'll go into the Mississippi and Auburn game, and I think a lot of people thought Ole Miss was going to come in here and really just blow them out and try to win, but it just didn't happen. Auburn showed that they could compete. And I think the Auburn team that we're watching now is really trying to turn the corner and get a really good bowl game.
Yeah, I picked Auburn. I was uh, uh, pretty happy about that. Uh, Bo Nix seems to have turned a corner as the quarterback. He's playing really well now. He's come a long way. I mean, like his first career start was against Oregon, and and they beat us, but he was not very impressive passing the ball. And I mean, I can see he's come a long way. So if he keeps that up, then yeah, they'll be in a good position to maybe finish in the top 10 and maybe go to a decent bowl that no one will care about because everyone will sit out. But you know,
Right, 100%. And I agree with you, Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is just getting comfortable. And I think the coaches are finally giving him the trust he deserves because it is his team. And the fact that I've seen in the past couple of games where they played, they just didn't trust him to throw the ball downfield. You have to have trust in your quarterback. If you're only going to let him throw an intermediate 5 to 10 yard route, that's not trusting the guy who's leading your team.
yeah, I agree.
So this next game, I couldn't believe how this finished. Number 19 SMU traveled to Houston, ended up losing 44-37 on a kickoff return on the last play on with 9 seconds left.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I I made a last second switch in my rankings because I had SMU ahead of Houston, but I thought, well, I better switch them because Houston won.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I mean, it's tough because I think if SMU would have won this, it'd have helped UC more than Houston winning it. But win's a win, and the college football rankings just started. We'll see what happens within the next coming weeks. But hey, this next game, Paul is going to love. Kentucky travels to Mississippi State, loses 31-17 by 2 scores. The number 12 ranked Kentucky, and I will say that again, the number 12 ranked Kentucky lost on the road by 14. What do you have to say about that one, Ryan?
Yeah, that was definitely a surprising one. Um, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it, but um, I thought I was beginning to gain some trust in Kentucky, but yeah, that's a rough loss.
Oh, that's very rough, and we'll get to the rankings because there's a lot to be said about that, but that'll be for our next segment. We can really breeze through these ones real quick. Kansas versus Oklahoma State. Not much to be said. Oklahoma State showed that they are superior. And what Kansas did last week versus Oklahoma was just a fluke.
Yes.
This game was actually pretty interesting. North Carolina versus Notre Dame. I would have loved to see Notre Dame beat them more than 10, but I mean it is what it is. If Notre Dame keeps winning, that helps UC. But
Yeah. Yeah, you need Notre Dame to win out.
yeah, you're right. We do, and I think they're set up to win out. But we
Yeah.
also know Notre Dame's had quarterback issues where they played two or three quarterbacks in the same game, and you know how I feel about that. I don't really like that. Uh, Heading to the Virginia versus BYU game, I mean, number 25 BYU. I mean, there was no defense played in this game at all. Something else Paul loves, and I just think this showed that the ACC is overrated again.
Are they even I mean, they're they're not very highly rated to begin with, but yeah, I hear where you're coming from.
It's just crazy to me that where they're putting some of these teams and the rankings just so they could see an ACC team up there. That's not Clemson. But
I mean, yeah, Wake Forest and who else do you have? I mean,
San Diego State did. They're at like the bottom part of it. But I mean, to me, that's just I don't know. I'm a firm believer in that. I just don't think Wake Forest is that good. I think if you put them up against the other 9 teams ahead of them, they would lose 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10 against those teams.
yeah, I agree with that.
And the last game on our slate, we got Fresno versus San Diego State. Man, did we really believe in San Diego State as much as we should have? Because I don't think we do. I mean, Fresno State showed that. I mean, they're a two-loss team, but they also showed that they can beat a ranked team. But how high a value does 20 down count for ranked teams?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it all along. Like Fresno State's not a bad team at all. So
Oh yeah, I mean when you're going on the
they,
road, it's hard to win regardless.
yeah, I mean they very nearly beat Oregon. So I mean, they gained my respect. Uh, and then what they did against UCLA was incredible. That game was incredible. One of the best games I've seen this season. So yeah, I mean they're a solid team.
I always hope small schools like that always play good because I love small schools. I think like the big time programs get their credit, and obviously they should, but it's awesome to see the love for the smaller programs.
Yeah.
And now we head into the rankings. I'll let you talk over your rankings first, and then I'll talk for Paul.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess the big thing is I moved Michigan State up to 3. Um, I think being undefeated and having a good win uh, over Michigan has to put them over. I mean, everyone except Georgia, of course, and I mean, you could make a good case that Michigan State's number 2 because they have I mean, they don't have a loss and they have better wins than Alabama does. But I think just Alabama being Alabama, Saban being Saban, I'm going to keep them at 2. But um, I think they have to be put over everyone else at this point and see what else is of note. Um,
what I like about yours is I can see that you have a lot of where the committee has it right. So except for like Oregon, I mean, you have Cincinnati at 6, Bama at 2, Michigan State at 3, and like you're not far off from where it should be. I mean, you have Wake Forest at 10. You could have if you would have flipped them in Notre Dame, you're like spot on, and I think that's what makes your rankings stand out.
well, I don't. I guess you don't have rankings, but is there anything with mine that you sort of disagree with, or
Uh, More of Penn State still being in the rankings. I mean, 3 losses is tough to keep a team in there, but as we've seen from the playoff committee rankings, they don't really care about that 3 loss stat. But I mean,
you don't think
other than that, it's not really that bad.
you don't think they should be in there at all?
If they are, I mean, it should be. I'd say 25. I mean, the biggest problem I have is they should only have 2 losses. But saying they should only have 2 losses and them actually having 2 losses is pretty hard to like just to keep
I
saying
just,
it.
yeah, I hear you, but I mean, Penn State is a good team. They just are. I mean, yeah, like they're way too good to remove from the rankings or have, I mean, have,
Oh,
too
I
much lower.
100% agree. I had Penn State, and you can ask Paul. I've been a believer of Penn State all year. And then when Clifford got hurt, I was like, man, that's going to be the downfall of Penn State right there. And I love their defense. I think their defense is good. I think Clifford's a great quarterback. But at the end of the day, I mean, they had some unfortunate things happen.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
agree with you though with them being in the rankings. It personally to me, I just think they should be lower, like 20 to 25, somewhere in that area.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, the only thing I really hold against them is the Illinois, which that's of course very bad. But I firmly believe they would have beat Iowa if Clifford hadn't gotten hurt. And then you have a very narrow loss to Ohio State. I mean, that's, and I get like 3 losses, but I mean, those 3 losses there's only one that's actually bad.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean the Illinois. I mean that's just. I think what hurts them about that. It's kind of it's kind of like Clifford wasn't healthy, right? And I think they tried to rush him back, and you could tell he still wasn't comfortable in the Ohio State game, but he was more comfortable.
Sure.
And then
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like he was not exactly healthy, so yeah.
we got something from Paul here. 5-3 Penn State not in, but 5-3 Mississippi State in the rankings is blasphemous. And I agree with
Oh
that. And I
yeah.
don't think they should be in. I said Mississippi State doesn't deserve that, and I would put Penn State ahead of them. I'd put Penn State ahead of Pitt, and there is
Penn
no reason.
State Penn State not being in the college football playoff rankings is probably the biggest mistake that they made. I mean, I do not get that.
I don't get it either, but I think the biggest mistake they made was putting Mississippi State in, especially at 17. I'd have rather
Well,
you
I'm
told
saying,
me
yeah,
that
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough because like obviously it is the first week of this, and we don't exactly know how everything's gonna play out. There's still a lot of football to be played. And Penn State, they're gonna get back in. They're gonna get where they deserve. And this is a first look, just a first look. I mean, we'll see what happens next week. A lot of big games to be played next week, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
I'll talk over Paul's a little bit here. Uh, I like the Michigan State at 2. I think Bama could have moved down to 3. And I was telling him before this, I said, it doesn't exactly matter where Bama is or Ohio State. They control their own destiny going out. They both went out. They're both in. Uh,
Hmm.
My problem is with Oregon at 4. He has him at 6, but with Oregon at 4 in the college football committee, I didn't like that just because of their last 3 games they played, except for against Colorado. I think that they valued the Ohio State win too much, but didn't discredit them enough for playing bad. And you've seen it with Oklahoma; they discredited them a lot, putting them at 8.
I agree. I agree with you. Um, Obviously, I'm thrilled about
Oh
that we
yeah,
got this
there's
ball.
nothing to not be thrilled about. I mean, that's great where they're at for you.
Right. But I mean, just okay, like, if we're gonna just get into the official rankings, like, I was shocked by them just in general. I did not think in a million years that we would be up at number four. And I did not think in a million years Oklahoma would be eight. That to me is outrageous. And Michigan State, like, I was kind of surprised, but in a good way. Like, I actually decided to put them at three also. So I like that, but I don't like what they said. Basically, is that winning is not that it doesn't matter, but that it's not of the utmost importance.
So
And
you're saying it's
basically,
not valued.
yeah, as high as it should be. I mean, and I was talking to to Paul a little bit ago when the rankings were coming out, and like he's right on board with them. And I'm like, so what you're saying is that it is better to lose to a good team than it is to barely beat a bad team. Like that's what you're saying.
I see
And
where you're going with that.
yeah, and he agreed too. And uh so yeah, I just think I just don't like that very much.
And I mean, we've seen in the past what the committee does. And it is true, Oklahoma does not have a ranked win so far. But if we're basing it off the rankings now, and you could say it for a lot of teams, I mean, it's crazy. But it's the first one. We'll see a lot of stuff go down. But I do agree with what you were saying. I think it's valued to lose to a good team than beat a bad team. And we see it through the rankings. I mean, look at what makes me mad is the college football committee. They don't want UC to have a shot. And how I mean by that is, do you see the committee's rankings versus your guys' rankings? SMU and Houston are both in your guys' rankings, but the committee doesn't put them in. They'll put Fresno State and San Diego State and Pitt in there before they put those teams in. And I think that's just disrespectful because they do not want to see UC have a chance at getting in. Now, I've said it all year, and it's crazy that people are still hating on this UC team. Yeah, they had a bad game against Navy. Okay, every team this year has had a bad game, and it's clearly. I mean, look, Alabama lost to Texas A&M. Ohio State, yes, they lost to number 4 Oregon. Michigan, they lost to number 3 Michigan State. It's tough. Like you're playing college football. It's hard to go out there and win every week and win by an outstanding amount every week. And I just think they're showing a little bit of disrespect to UC, but also you could say I'm biased.
No, I agree. I mean, I think they they disrespect them a little bit. I don't have a huge issue with where they are. I mean, because those teams ahead of them are just they're very good, and I mean, but I mean, yeah, yeah, that's one thing I was surprised because like I just assumed that if UC won out, they would just be in the playoff. But that is not at all what they said with these rankings. So,
And it's crazy because they didn't really give them a path. I mean, Oklahoma, they have a very good path, especially with Oklahoma State, Baylor, with them being ranked 11th and 12th. That is a easy path to get in as long as they went out. Oregon, they went out, they're most likely going to be in. So that's two teams right there. The Big Ten champion will most likely be in as long as it's Ohio State or Michigan State. On the other side of the bracket, it gets kind of weird, and then you have the team from the SEC. So for them to try to say that UC might have a chance, a lot has to happen, in my opinion, for UC to get in. And we all thought from the beginning of the year, okay, UC beats Indiana. Okay, Indiana wasn't that good this year. They beat Notre Dame. Okay, well, they did their job against Notre Dame. That should show the committee enough to put them in, but it hasn't, and I don't think it will. But, it's like I said, there's a lot of football to be played, and we'll see what happens on the way out.
yeah, I mean, I think they could still very well make it in. I mean, like teams above them could definitely lose. Um, I would not be surprised if Oregon loses a game here. Like I have seen this before. Like 2 years ago, we lost to Arizona State, who was like no good really, and we were in position for a playoff appearance. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously anything can happen still. Um, and just to clarify a little bit more, like I, I mean, clearly I'm okay with one loss teams being put above undefeated teams, but like I think that should happen only if the one loss team is just clearly better. So, for example, I've had Ohio State uh, ahead of Oklahoma for most of the season because they're just better at everything. So even though Oklahoma's undefeated, uh, so like yeah, I have Alabama up there, but I just think having Oklahoma at 8 devalues winning too much. Um,
I agree with that, and
it,
I think
it's
if you were
just
to
too
move them, they'd
much.
be at 7.
Yeah, a 7 I wouldn't have a huge issue with, but like having him behind Michigan, that I don't really get.
I mean, there's a lot of football to be played, and I think that's what the best thing is. And I mean, we talked about, I've talked about it with Paul and his uncle, and I was saying like, the Big Ten still is yet to beat up on each other. It's starting with last week. It started last week. There could be a lot to happen within the college football playoffs and the rankings. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Ohio State's going to go out and win out. We don't know if Michigan State has what it takes to go to Ohio State and beat Ohio State. I mean, it's crazy what could happen in the next upcoming weeks, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, tons of things are going to change. I guarantee that.
Now, I will say this: if there's one change you could make out of this entire college football committee playoffs, who would you take out, or what change would you make?
Well, like we already discussed, Penn State and Mississippi State. It would be that right there.
You said I'd say Mississippi State too. I mean, there's just, I mean, come on, you
And
beat.
you got to put Penn State in.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I'd say if Mississippi State was in, they should have been 25, and then if we're taking one out, it should have been Mississippi State for Penn State, and I will agree with that any day of the week.
Yeah, another team that is not in there is UTSA, and I'm not, gonna pretend to be like super high on UTSA, but I just know the AP likes them quite a bit. So I was like a little bit surprised that they weren't in there at all.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of shocking. But let's head on to the Heisman rankings, and I'll start with Paul's. He has Kenneth Walker from Michigan State as his leader, Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State at number two, Bryce Young at number three, Desmond Ritter at four, and B. John Robinson at five.
Boy, there's some bias there.
I would have to agree with you there, but I think Trayvon Henderson is probably the best, not the best player, but he could be the most talented player on that Ohio State team. They have a lot of talented players, but to me, and I'm looking at both the rankings, I don't think Desmond Ritter, and I love UC. I don't think Ritter deserves to be in the Heisman race anymore just because he, UC they spread the ball. They don't just let him go throw it. There's games where he has 15 pass attempts. I mean, it's tough to do that to win the Heisman when you're not putting up stats each and every week. We look at Bryce Young. He goes out, he puts out numbers every week. Trayvon Henderson, every week he's putting out numbers. Kenneth Walker, I mean, the dude's a beast. I think you both got it right with putting him at number one because he's my Heisman front runner.
Okay. So do you have a list?
I mean, I do. I would have said Kenneth Walker at one. I would have put Bryce Young at two. I probably would have put Trayvon Henderson at three. I'd have put C.J. Stroud at four, and then B.J. Robinson at five.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have to, I think, have Walker at one because he just had a statement game, 5 touchdowns. No one else has really had a statement game. I mean, really, the Heisman has been totally up for grabs, and he just grabbed it. So you got to have him there. Um, and then, I mean, I still have Ritter in there. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think chances are he probably won't be a finalist, but I've been very impressed with him. And I really like uh, Bijan Robinson, probably more than Kenneth Walker, but the teams being what they are and the recent performances being what they are, I can't put him put Bijan ahead. Um, but yeah, Young, I mean, the guy obviously puts up good numbers. Stroud puts up good numbers. I don't want to have Stroud and Henderson. That's the thing for me.
Right.
And I just feel like Stroud is kind of the guy I want to go with of the two. But I mean, I could see Henderson being in there, certainly. So yeah, I mean, when I say it's bias on Paul's part, I'm not saying that Henderson sucks or something like he's very, very, very good, clearly, but
Now, I'm excited to
but
kind of see a running back win it this year because before that, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks win, and I don't think it should always be a quarterback. I don't think you should dictate who the best college football player is by if you have 50 touchdown passes or it's hard to go out there and be a running back. I mean, You got to look at like the defense, and Chase Young could have won it a couple years ago, but he didn't win
Right.
it because he got suspended one game. And we got a question from the chat. Uh, what is the current Heisman odds?
Um, I was just looking at that actually. Um, and they have, let me just find it. So Bryce Young is still number one, and Corral is number two.
That's
Stroud
surprising.
three, Walker, and then Caleb Williams, who I wanted to ask you, I wanted to talk about Caleb Williams. I want to see if you think he has a chance, because like Paul says that he should be just eliminated from discussion.
I'm gonna have to agree with Paul on that one. When you don't play for the first 5 games, I mean your numbers would have to be absolutely insane. You'd have to throw for almost 6 touchdown passes a game, five
They
hundred
are pretty
yards.
insane though.
To me, it's just I don't know. Uh, it's tough because obviously we're not on the committee, we're not on the voting thing, and I think that should he be on there? No, I don't. But I mean, we've seen it in the past. Chase Young, he missed one game. If you're telling me Caleb Williams can come in after not playing the first 5, I just don't think that's right.
Me neither, and you may notice like I don't have him on my list, but I'm not like I would not be surprised at all if he ends up being a finalist. I don't think he'll win it because of this, what you're saying, missing those games. But he's been so good, and like I was saying earlier, there no one is well until Walker, no one's really emerged as like a clear guy. So I think it's to a degree up for grabs, at least in terms of a top five finish, let's say. And I mean, if he keeps playing as good as he has, I think he will be a finalist. But in general, I agree. Like I don't think he should really win or be able to win just because of those missed games.
Oh yeah, the missed games are gonna hurt him. Uh, Paul had Kenneth Walker last week as number one, and I did too. I honestly I didn't think that you could say anybody. I agree with you saying that nobody really stepped up at taking the lead of the Heisman because there has not been great quarterback play. I think this year we've seen a kind of average, but it's not like past years where Mac Jones went out there threw for 50 touchdowns. Joe Burrow threw for
Yeah.
75 completion percentage, 60 touchdowns, and over 5,000 yards. I mean, it is not. It's not the same quarterback class as we've seen in the past years. This running back class, though, whether they're freshmen, juniors, seniors, they are going off, and it is crazy. And we can even talk about Jerome Ford from Cincinnati. Not a lot of credit's given to him.
Mhm.
He is absolutely gone off.
Yeah, I mean we've said it for weeks now on here. Like it's the year of the running back for sure.
But overall, I like both of your Heisman rankings. Uh, I like that you haven't given up on Shroud. I like both of you not giving up on Ritter. But to me, I just think Ritter's chances are dwelling if he can't keep on putting up the numbers. But I think we're all in agreement that Kenneth Walker should probably win it if he can keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah, that's why I don't like these the odds rankings very much because they have Walker at 4.
That's just
So I
disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, how can you have him after a five touchdown game? Like, I mean, he just it's so clearly the the answer right now.
I hope that they see that they did that wrong, and I think they will. But we can't exactly dictate everything, and we'll head on with the predictions. And it looks like Paul is edging everybody out by two because I always forget to pick the games. That is bad on my part, and I need to get better at it. We will start with the Tennessee at Kentucky game, and I know this is Paul's favorite game on this schedule. So, Ryan, I'll let you take over and say who's going to win this game.
I mean, I'll take Kentucky to win. Do you have the lines in front of you?
It's 1 point. I think it's 1 point Kentucky. So they got them. They got Kentucky winning by one.
1 point. Wow, that is close. Yeah, I'll take a Kentucky to cover. What about you?
Uh, I hope. I mean, Tennessee is. I don't know. Tennessee is kind of the dark horse of playing ranked teams close in the SEC, but I'd take Kentucky to win this, being at home, and I'd take them to cover as well.
Yeah,
We'll head to the LSU Alabama game. I think Alabama covers this. It's 28.5.
I, I
I
guess Kentucky can't really win and not cover, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, 28 and a half.
I think LSU just clocked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, part of me is like, sometimes, I mean, LSU Alabama games are historically really good and everything, but yeah, I mean,
I think Ed Ogeron
man,
just clocked out of the. He's just coaching for fun at this point.
something tells me that Alabama will not cover, but I think they're going to win, but maybe more like 20, 21, 24, something like that.
Oh yeah, 28.5 is it's kind of a stretch. I mean, I remember a couple shows you saying you'll never take it over 28, and I agree that's tough to take. But I've seen LSU play. To me, they're not that impressive. So I will take Alabama to cover.
Right. Where is this?
I think it's just on the bottom. The over under for this is 66. It's on the bottom right where the
I mean, like, where is it? Yeah, Alabama or at
oh
LSU?
I think it's at Alabama.
Okay, because that also matters. If they were going to LSU, I'd be a little bit more like, you know,
Right.
less convincing. But yeah,
And then we'll head into the next game here. We got Iowa versus Northwestern. Honestly, I'm gonna take Northwestern to win this.
really,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a big believer in Iowa's offense, and it's gonna be at Northwestern. I don't,
yeah.
I'm not a believer
It's
in
not a
Iowa.
terrible take at this point, but what's the line for that one?
Uh, plus 12, and I think that is going in the favor of Northwestern.
Yeah, uh, I'll take. I mean, I'll take Iowa. I mean, I think they're. Uh, I mean, they really need to bounce back right now. So, I mean, you might argue that they're just kind of defeated at this point, or you could argue they're gonna have a nice bounce back. I'm gonna say they bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it going either way. I think it's just
Yeah,
a preference of me not thinking Iowa's offense is gonna show up.
sure.
And next team we got is Boise State, they travel to Fresno State, where Fresno State is projected to win by 5 points. I mean, I'll take them to cover Fresno State. I think that
Yeah,
they'll win.
I'll take that as well.
That's just I don't. I mean, Boise State hasn't really impressed me all in the past couple of years. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they beat. I want to say they beat BYU if I'm not mistaken, but
I think they did. I think you were right about that.
in general, yeah, I agree.
And then we'll go to this next game. I mean, this could. It's not slated to be, but Michigan coming off a tough loss. This could be a better game than what they're projecting. Indiana travels to Michigan. 20-point favorite Michigan is. I'm going to take Michigan, but I'm not going to take them to cover.
Yeah, that's a little bit steep. I'll agree with you there. I mean, I think Indiana is. I mean, I don't think they're like as terrible as people might think. So uh,
A lot of their
I
losses have
agree.
come to ranked teams, and by ranked teams I mean guys who are in the top 10.
I know they have a hard schedule. I mean, everyone in the Big Ten does pretty much, but
And your favorite team, Oregon, travels to Washington, and is Washington favored here? No, there's no chance, right?
no, I think it's like I want to say it's like 6.5 for us.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I take Oregon, and I think they'll cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the cover, but I am a little bit scared about this one. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit scared. They're a big rival, and it's at their place, and we have our best receiver, uh, Johnny Johnson. He was ejected for targeting, and he's going to miss the first half, which is not insignificant. Um, he's by far our most experienced and everything in terms of receivers, but I'm going to say we cover, but like barely, not maybe by 7, like something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many targeting calls have been called against Oregon.
Oh my gosh, I am just at the end of my rope with this. I mean,
Something's
it
got to
is
change,
driving
man.
me it is driving me nuts, literally. Like I hate this. It's just it's so bad.
I agree. I mean, something's got to change sooner or later. It's tough, man. I mean, like people get called for targeting, and like I think of it this way. I think there needs to be two targetings. Targeting one, you just get it's a 15-yard penalty. It's a personal foul. If you do it again, then you're ejected as a targeting one. Targeting two, intent to lead with the head and try to injure a player.
Yeah. So you're okay with judging intent?
The judging part's going to be hard, but you like so when Thibodeau got ejected versus Stanford, you can tell that was no intent to go to the head. It just happened.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like judging intent can be difficult, but with these targetings, like I'm telling you, it is not hard to tell if there is malicious sort of intent or if it's just a total accident.
Right.
Like it's really not that difficult to tell. Um,
I gave
and
Paul the biggest uh, example of it. So last year, number 47 on Clemson, he did it back to back years going after Justin Fields. He led with the crown of his helmet going into his
yeah,
rib or his back. That is intent to hurt the quarterback. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's intent to lead with your helmet and cause an injury. Now,
Sure.
somebody who, if a running back lowers his head to a guy diving at your feet, that is not intent. That is not targeting.
Yeah, and another thing that I've been consistently saying for a few weeks is like it targeting is supposed to be called on offensive players, and it very seldom is. Like you do not see it, and that is like they're not so they're literally not even doing it, right? And it's it's just frustrating. I mean, they really need to change this, and in the meantime, at least be consistent with the way it's supposed to be told, you know. But I like your proposal there. I think that's fine. I just don't like what absolutely should never happen is ejection from the first half of the following game.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
You just get
that is
ejected.
what games in college football are very precious. I mean, there's only like 12 of them. I mean, you can't just be, I mean, you know, like this isn't basketball or baseball. Like this isn't even the NFL. Like college football games are so important, everyone. And if
Right. I
you're
mean, if
just
you miss a
without your,
half, your Heisman hopes could be done.
yeah, there's that. And there's like, I mean, Thibodeau was gone for the first half against Cal, and we were kind of struggling, and then he comes back and he just wrecks the entire game. You know, it's like that was a little bit dangerous, and I mean we shouldn't have been in that position versus Cal anyway. One could argue, but you see what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. We'll head on to the next game. I mean, targeting is it's got to go. I mean, it's either got to go or it's got to be changed. I think everybody agrees with that. San Diego State they take on Hawaii, and that is San Diego State is favored by 7.5. I mean, I'm gonna take it. I'll take the spread. Hawaii is the team that I don't. To me, I just don't think they're that impressive, and I think San Diego State's gonna show that they're just a superior team.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
Next we got Ohio State taking on Nebraska. This game kind of interests me. I'm not gonna lie. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because Nebraska they have played ranked opponents tough all year. Ohio State also travels to Nebraska. And I
Yeah.
know Paul's uncle is very big on this Nebraska team. He thought they were going to upset Michigan. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's an upset. I will take Ohio State, but I don't think a 15. I think they win by either 10 or 14. I don't think it's a blowout. I think it's going to be a good game.
I think I'm gonna agree with you there as well. I mean, this I could see this being a little bit of a trap game. Um, like for all the reasons you said, like Nebraska's been kind of a tough out, and they're going to Nebraska, and meanwhile they just had Penn State, Ohio State did, and then they've got I don't remember who their next game is after that, but they've got a bunch of tough games coming up.
I
So
want to say it's Purdue.
okay, well that's not too bad, but
Yeah, it is
you know
Purdue.
it'd be I mean I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of took their eye off the ball for a second there, and you know what I mean. So,
Oh, 100%.
but
So we're both agreeing that they're not, that we don't think the cover will happen, but we do think that Ohio State will win.
yeah,
Purdue, Michigan State, Big Ten championship. Paul, stop. uh, we'll get,
What?
we'll go to Pitt. They're traveling to Duke. Uh, I I'm taking Pitt to win this and cover the 21. I don't think Duke is that good. I mean, Wake Forest put up a lot of points on them.
Mm,
Let's just say
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I mean, 21's kind of high, but I think they can get that covered.
Well, you know, Ryan, we both know this next game is his favorite of the year. The University of Missouri, and I mean the University of Missouri, travels to Georgia. I think this is going to be a pretty close game. It's 38-point spread. I think they're going to cover and they're going to win them by a lot. I know Paul really
Oh,
loves the bottom feeders of the SEC because they all beat each other up.
yeah. Well, I don't like those super high covers in general, but I mean, I'm just kind of a huge believer in Georgia, so I'll take it in this instance.
I mean, 38 points is a lot, man. That's actually crazy. I mean, it should be that high, but 38 is a lot.
They're
And
so good. I mean,
oh, it's crazy. I mean, they're doing it with a backup quarterback too, and I think that's what is more impressive more than anything. And
that
that
team is
defense.
insane, man. That defense is arguably the best defense of all time. It's
I won't
yeah,
disagree with you there. They're very impressive. We got the ABC game here for the noon slot. Wake Forest travels to the University of North Carolina, where North Carolina is actually favored by 2.5 points here.
that's that's an intriguing one.
I was thinking the same thing. uh, this is Paul's upset pick of the week. He thinks that Wake Forest will end up losing, and I mean, you know, I actually don't
I can
disagree
see
with
it.
him.
Yeah, I could see it, but I mean, what's the spread again?
2.5 over under
Okay,
76.
okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I'm gonna take the upset, but it's intriguing.
It
What do
definitely
you
is.
think? Yeah,
Uh, I'm gonna take North Carolina upset. I like Sam Howell. I think he is a very good quarterback, and I think that if North Carolina can play their game, I think they beat Wake Forest, and I think they beat them by at least a touchdown.
I like Sam Howell too, but he's been struggling a little bit this year, and I mean they lost all. I think pretty much all of their great skill position guys. Yeah, I mean I'll take Wake Forest, but definitely could see that going either way.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely it could definitely go either way. We got Illinois traveling to Minnesota, where Minnesota is a 14.5 point favor. I mean, I'm gonna take Minnesota. Illinois, they're on their high horse, beating Penn State. I just, I think that's gonna end, and I think Minnesota's gonna win by 21.
Okay. Yeah, I mean I think the 14's probably about right. So I'll take that the
Well,
cover.
at least we're both in agreement there. I think this is kind of disrespectful to Ole Miss. Liberty travels to Ole Miss. It's a 9.5 point spread, and there's favored in for Ole Miss. I don't know. I mean, I think I just.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take Ole Miss to cover that. Would you?
Yes.
That's just
Yeah, I don't. That's a bit head scratching, but
I did say that last time though, and last time I said that, Mississippi almost lost to Tennessee. So I'm gonna take it, but it wouldn't surprise me because I picked them
oh,
to win that. It'd go the other way.
stranger things have happened for sure. But I
You're
mean,
not wrong there.
in general, like, yeah, I don't.
Uh,
I feel pretty good about that cover.
I mean I do too. Uh, Tulsa takes on the University of Cincinnati, who is a 22.5 point favorite. I'm gonna take UC.
Like the cover,
Yeah, I think they'll cover it. I mean, Tulsa to me is just not that
they
impressive.
they need to
Yeah, they
they
definitely
need
need
to
to.
cover.
If they
I'll take
don't,
it
it
as
could be
well.
bad.
Yeah, I'll take it as well. If no other reason, like I think they're going to be highly motivated. So
They're also at home, and I mean, not a lot of people realize that they had so many home games, and that they go on the road back to back games against Navy and Tulane, and now they're back playing Tulsa, and I think that they blow them out here. And I'd pick the spread.
sure, yeah, I agree.
And here we go, Navy and Notre Dame. The 2-6 Navy traveled to Notre Dame. It's a 20.5 point spread. I'm gonna take Notre Dame, but I don't think they cover this.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And I say it because, and I've told Paul this. I said that you cannot prepare for the offense they run. It is so hard to prepare for that. It's absolutely insane.
It seems like it would be fairly easy to prepare.
It seems like it 100%. I agree, but once you actually get out there and playing on it, I
It,
it's just
it's so
tough.
weird. Yeah, super unusual.
Right, because you don't see a lot of teams do it anymore. I mean, nowadays it's more of a passing game than it is a running game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can see where you're going. I mean, maybe no cover Notre Dame, but not, maybe not to cover. I can agree with that.
All right, and then we got Michigan State taking on Purdue. I think this will actually be a very good game. It's a 3 point favorite to Michigan State. I think they win. I'm going to take Michigan State to cover the spread. I think they win by at least 7, but
Yeah,
I think they're going to win on the running back. I mean, Walker
I
is amazing.
yeah, I like the three. I mean, I think they should definitely be able to cover that.
Hey, I like it. We're in agreement here. We head on to the next
Yeah,
one. Wisconsin taking on Rutgers. 11.5 point favorite, Wisconsin. I do take them to cover that. I think that defense is not going to let Rutgers score, and I think the Wisconsin offense can at least put up 14 points. I'd say this could be a 14-3 game.
yeah. I'll I guess I'll take Wisconsin, but not to cover. I just I think it's just like you said, it's going to be very probably low scoring.
It'll definitely be more
So
defensive. I don't think
yeah,
there's any.
so yeah. I mean, I'm just not a huge believer in Wisconsin. So
Oh, I'm not a believer in their offense, but that defense is very good.
yeah,
And Paul, he said his upset game of the week was Wake Forest and North Carolina. Mine is going to be West Virginia beating Oklahoma State. I
okay,
I think Oklahoma State going on the road to West Virginia is going to be tough. I think West Virginia beats them by 7, and then they cover their spread.
I don't hate that, but I mean, I'm not gonna agree with that. I think Oklahoma State should win that game, but what is it, a 7 point?
It's a 3. I think they're going to win by 7.
Oh, three, three, yes. I kind of like Oklahoma State to cover that actually,
It,
but
it'll definitely be a very good game. I mean, Oklahoma State's coming off a absolute massacre over Kansas, but West Virginia coming off a
yeah,
win, especially against Iowa State, a big
yeah,
win for them. This game could go either way, but I'm going to take West Virginia.
yeah. I'm trying to figure out my if I have an upset of the week. I mean, I kind of like the last week. I liked a lot of underdogs. This week, I kind of like the favorites. Um, Trying to figure out if I have any. None so far, I don't think, right?
Oh no, I mean, just looking at this week, it's been a tough. The one thing you said is you're a little bit worried about Washington and Oregon, but you
Well,
ultimately
I'm
picked Oregon to win.
that's just,
That's the part of being a fan.
that's just me being terrified. Um, so and
Hey, I mean, I see where you're coming from now.
I just know, like, I mean, as a Ducks fan, like we've been in this position before, and someone who's nowhere near as good can beat us. So, and we just have to be very vigilant here.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
but I'm hoping that we sort of already got that out of our system with the Stanford game, and now we're gonna just take care of business.
That is what you want to do. And talking about taking care of business, Baylor versus TCU. I think Baylor takes care of business here. They're the 6.5 point spread, and I think Baylor covers it. TCU is just not impressive.
Yeah, and I saw that Gary Patterson is done there um, at TCU. I'm not sure if that's like after the season. Do you know?
I heard about it, but I'm not sure if they gave him his immediate release or not. Paul just said he's out. So
Okay, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
influences things as well. So
yeah.
yeah,
So Baylor, all right, never mind. Baylor by about 20.
yeah, I concur.
Because I actually did not know that. I have not been paying that much attention as much as I should have.
He's
But
been there like 22 years. That's pretty crazy.
that is crazy. I mean, to think that a coach being there that long. I mean, at that point, you're talking like that. I don't even know, man. That is absolutely crazy. But Auburn takes on Texas A&M. This could be your upset of the week right here, because either of these teams. I mean, this is where we say the big. Oh man, the SEC beats each other up, but A&M and Auburn. I mean, I pick Auburn to be where they're at. I think Auburn goes in there and wins. A&M is the 4.5 point favorite, but I think Auburn beats them by a
Okay,
touchdown.
so this is my upset of the week then, because I picked Auburn in the in the app,
Yeah,
but I didn't know what the spread was at that time. I thought they might have been projected to win. Uh, but yeah, hearing that,
I mean it's
that will
crazy. I mean
be
they
yeah.
had A&M on the high horse after beating Alabama, and I mean yeah okay they beat the number one team in the nation at the time. I just don't see a lot for this team.
A&M's a weird team, man. They're really weird.
All right, I agree with you there, man. It's tough.
I
Uh,
don't. they're just inconsistent, and they have a lot of potential clearly, but I think Auburn is just more consistent and better quarterback play and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, A&M, they do have a couple bad losses. But I mean, we're both in agree with the Auburn winning. I don't think I
Hmm.
think Bo Nix goes in there and shows how good he is.
Hmm.
And as we wrap up here, we got 3 games left. Idaho State takes on BYU. I think BYU wins by 3 scores. Paul did not put the spread on for this one, and I think the reason of that is because he agrees with us. It will be over a 3 score game.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
it's it's just tough. He said there was no spread, so yeah, I'd take BYU by 3 scores. Um, do you agree with that, or do you think Idaho State's going to come in with the upset?
Sure. No, I'll agree. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing really other to say on that one. North Carolina State, they take on Florida State. I think this could be an upset, and I would take Florida State to beat North Carolina State. I'm not very high on North Carolina State, and it's only a 2.5 point spread in favor of North Carolina State. So I will take Florida State to win this, being at home.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising really, but I mean, I'll take NC State to cover. I mean,
So the better question is, if Florida State wins, do they get put in the rankings? I mean, they only got 5 losses. Uh, for the
yeah.
last game of the week, we have Mississippi State taking on Arkansas. This could be an upset as well. Arkansas is actually favored in this game by 5 points. I'm gonna take Arkansas to win this. I'm not high on Mississippi State at all.
No, yeah, I mean Arkansas by 5. I mean, that seems pretty appropriate, but I mean, I'll take them to cover, I guess. I could see it being a touchdown, you
What sucks about this right here is if Arkansas wins this, they will get put back in the rankings, and I just don't agree with it.
know.
But
They might, yeah. But I mean, the bottom of the rankings are just so hard to get right. I mean,
oh yeah, I mean there's nothing easy once it comes to talking about the bottom 6 teams.
yeah.
But with that said, I mean that is all we have for this week. Ryan, is there anything else you'd want to say as we close out the show?
Well, just also congratulations to Paul. We're super happy for you. So, uh,
Hey,
and
couldn't have said it
yeah,
better, my man. Uh,
hopefully we're hopefully we did a passable job in your absence. So,
and as we come to a close, I also want to say congratulations one more time, Paul. It's amazing what you and Kaylee are doing with your family, and till next time, guys. Thank you.